Hey, everybody. Welcome to another installment of the Pucking Around podcast. Puck around and find out. Our 57th episode. We got a good episode for you tonight. We're going to be going over quite a few things. We had quite a few trades in the NHL this week. Guess you could say early bird gets the trade here. 4 in total. We're going to be going over all 4 of them. Plus, the NHL and the NHLPA announced an agreement on a salary cap increase over the next 3 years. We're going to be going over that as well and talking about what it could mean for the league and teams in general as well. Let me introduce you to the cast tonight, starting with the man to my left. You know him, you love him. He's this season. Oh, to my right. I'm sorry. I can't get my left to my right today.
I know.
I'm dyslexic. But starting with the man to my right, you know him, you love him. He's the seasoned vet of the Pucking Around podcast, Mr. Rick Singelman. How are you doing tonight, Rick?
He screwed my name up too, but that's fine.
Did you say Singelman?
Yeah, that's what he said.
I'm gonna botch that.
I am single and I am a man, but my name's not
Singelman.
I
said single man for a reason.
Yeah, there you go. How's everybody?
And now the man below me, you love him, you know him so much. Everyone's favorite Habs fan, Nornimus Prime, a.k.a. Matt Norton.
The man with no face. The man with no face.
He's hiding.
He's afraid to show his face.
But any dang way. And then finally, coming in as our relief podcaster tonight, since we have no Cam Sakarzik here tonight, you know him, you love him. One of my favorite men here from the Gonna Flyer podcast. One of my gracious co-hosts, Eric Martino. As my voice cracks.
What's up,
boy? That voice cracked.
Oh man, I had a great entry.
Just happy to help out. Happy to relieve Cam of his services, but let's go.
Yeah, no Cam tonight, though, ladies and gentlemen. He's got some stuff he's got to deal with behind the scenes, but he'll be back next week, so you don't got to worry about that. We're also going to be joined later on tonight by my other Gonna Flyer co-host, Jamey Baskow. He'll be joining in to drop in some opinions. But, gentlemen, we had a big week this week. A lot of movement around the NHL, huh?
A lot of movement.
Yeah, this came out of nowhere. You know, last week we had the Mikko Rantanen trade that kind of sparked everything, and that was an absolute bombshell. Probably one of the biggest trades in the NHL in the last handful of years, at least.
There were 2 last week, weren't there? Not just Rantanen, wasn't there?
Well, there was a Rantanen trade. What was the other one last week?
I don't know why. Am I crazy or there was another trade?
Oh, you're crazy, but I don't know if you may. I don't think there was another trade.
Well, there was a Scott Brunovich for a 5th-round pick.
Okay.
Okay.
That was it.
Islanders trade.
So in other words, there was not another trade.
I thought there was another trade. What the hell's wrong?
Let me repeat that. There was only one trade of significance.
Exactly.
Well, yeah.
No disrespect to Scott Brunovich. I'm just saying it wasn't a big trade. It was a minor trade.
I don't mind saying disrespect to Scott Brunovich.
No disrespect to Scott Brunovich. Decent offensive defenseman.
I don't know who the hell he is, but
no, he's actually a decent offensive defenseman. Islanders got him for cheap for a 5th-round pick.
Okay.
But
I never.
Anyway, we had not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 significant trades that happened last week. So we're going to go in chronological order of these trades, starting from the big one that happened Thursday all the way to the semi-big one that happened Saturday. So we had 1 on Thursday, 2 on Friday, 1 on Saturday.
Well,
so
why don't we do it this way, though? Flyers fan. Why don't we start with the Flyers trade?
Let's do it. That was the one in the chronological order anyway.
So, was it? Did it? Is that
chronological? What are you inventing? Inventing words with Alex?
Chronological
new segment.
Chronological order. Isn't that 1, 2, 3?
Well, how did you pronounce it?
Chronological order.
It's chronological.
Right. I thought he fucked it up the first time. He got it right that time, though.
Chronological.
It's okay. Adventures in Talking English with Alex.
I am just botching everything right now. But anyway,
right, we're having fun tonight.
Going in chronological order, we start with what I consider is the biggest trade. Probably not, but this is a big one that hit hard for both me and Eric. Big blockbuster trade late on Thursday night between the Philadelphia Flyers and the Calgary Flames. sending Morgan Frost and Joel Farabee to the Northwest Province of Canada. Coming back to Philadelphia, who's still yet to get through because of visa issues, but that's besides the point, is Andrei Kuzmenko, Jakob Pelletier, a second-round pick this year, and a seventh-round pick in 2028. I'm still very curious as to why a seventh-round pick in 2028 was included. But sure, why the hell not? We're probably just going to trade it back and forth with Montreal every week anyway, like we do every year with our seventh-round pick. All right, so me and Eric talked about this trade on Flyer Gonna Flyer already, so we'll reserve what we need to say till afterwards. Let's start with our two Habs fans. Nordy, I want to start with you. What did you think about this trade?
Why Nordy?
In whole 9 yards.
No, I mean, I know a little. I mean, a decent amount about Farabee and Frost. I know they kind of, sort of. I don't want to say grew out of favor, but I know those were two names that you guys have kind of talked about as being on the trade block for a while. Bringing Kuzmenko in is good because he can kind of, again, be another translator for Matvei Michkov. And, maybe bounces back to that rookie year performance.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And then I really don't know much about the other guy that came over. And then it's never a bad idea to have draft capital. I mean, that seventh round pick is magic beans, whatever, but second round pick's always good.
Yeah. It's still shocking to me that they added a seventh, but so just to add a little bit of inspection on this, Pelletier, first round pick back in 2019, I think it was.
Yeah, Jacob Pelletier was kind of highly. What I remember, like, he was. Habs fans really wanted that kid for some reason, but from what I understand, he's a small kid, right? 5'9".
Yeah,
not a lot of talent, but I
He's
don't
like
think it
5'9"
translated. Yeah, I don't think it translated to
So
the NHL.
It's interesting because Flames fans are raving about this kid quite a bit. More is the
So were
type
Habs
of
fans. They wanted us to pick him up because he's French. So, but is it any more than that? I don't know.
So he was put on
about it.
waivers at around training camp time. No one claimed him. He got
that's right.
Yep.
Habs. We were talking about that. Should the Habs claim this kid? Right.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah.
No one claimed him. Got sent down to the minors. Came back up. 23 games. He's got 4 goals, 7 assists, 11 points. So not too bad of a showing in 23 games. That's almost a 40-point pace for the year if you're going to that. Mind you, it's still not the biggest sample size ever. But, the kid apparently really good locker room presence from what people have said. That's been one of the big things they've raved about him. Plays with a lot of energy. He seems like a Tortorella type of player. Plays with a lot of snarl and grit for his size, that is. But he's a feisty kid. Small kid, but feisty. He plays hard. He plays with heart. He plays hard every shift from what I've been hearing. And, he's only 23 years old. I think he was 26th overall. So there might be more to this kid than meets the eye. But anyway, I don't want to go too much in. Rick, what's your opinion on it? Because I'll go a little more in depth after.
I don't know enough about either of them, except that from what I remember about Pelletier, Habs fans really wanted him. He's a local kid from here, but he's supposed to be a goal scorer, if I'm correct. A good playmaker, goal scorer type offensive player. I don't know what happened in Calgary, why he didn't make it there, but sounds like he's a kid that in the right situation, new scenery. He, like you said, he's 23.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds so also like you gave up. I don't know if it's 2 projects going one way, but you got kind of 2 project players.
Yeah.
At this point right now. So like I don't know. I think from being the director of the Flyer podcast, I hear you guys talking about Frost and Farabee a lot, right? So sounded like 2 guys that needed to go. Farabee had a big contract with term.
Yes.
And you didn't get back maybe full value because of that, but you didn't have to retain. And you got 2 guys that if the fit is right, it could be really good for you guys. So I think it's a trade that it was like a hockey trade, really, right?
Mhm.
You said they got what they might have needed. You got what you might have needed as projects, but it could work out for both you guys. I think to say who won or lost, you got to wait a little bit.
Oh yeah, you're not gonna know who won this. As we said on Flyer a couple days ago, you're not really gonna know who won this at least for 2 or 3 years. Like it's so early. Like the Flyer, I mean, Kuzmenko and Peltier haven't even stepped foot with the Flyers on a practice ice yet. They're still having visa issues right now. So
Really?
yeah, neither of them are American residences. So
Peltier shouldn't have big problems from Canada.
yeah, neither of them have gotten here yet. Torts hasn't ruled them out for tomorrow yet, so I guess it sounds like they're close. I expect them the absolute latest to be ready by the Washington game on Thursday, but they had some issues trying to come over. It seems like so.
So do you think it's hockey players also that they're trying to crack down from coming across the northern border? I don't think so. That's kind of weird.
Well, if you look at it, when the Stars got Tanev last year, it took him about 5 or 6 days before he actually played a game with Dallas.
Did it really?
Yeah. So it's not
What the hell?
uncommon.
We're Canadians. We're supposed to be able to go to this. No, we need passports. It's true. It's
Yeah.
not like when I was a kid. Anyway. Anybody? Somebody else wanna?
Yeah, no. Well, look, Rick, you said something before that you really hit it on the head. Is Flyers didn't have to retain salary, and that's the biggest part of that trade. Is exactly that. Like, look, I love Farabee. He was one of my favorite players, and I had such high hopes for the guy.
Mm-hmm.
And but look, the way he played last season, like, well, not last season, but like the end of last season, where the kid like legit just hit a wall. Like it was like day and night. Like what he just stopped producing on the last 20 games of the season, and this season he picked up where he finished last season. He was not producing, and he played his way out of the top 6. And for Farabee to be successful in the league, he has to be a top 6 player. And look, he lost his spot. That's it. That's what it is. And look, Morgan Frost, same thing. Like if he was gonna be on the Flyers, he was gonna be on the Flyers as a top 6 center. And over the past few years, he's just shown that that's not him. I said it on the pod. He's consistently inconsistent. That's his biggest issue, because you watch this kid and you're like, wow, man, the skill is there. He has the skill, but he'll show up for like 5, 6, 7, 8 games in a row, and then he'll disappear for another 10. And that's always been his issue. And you know what? If you want to be a third line center and play like that, no problem whatsoever. But if you're relied upon to be a top 6 player and you're that inconsistent, I'm sorry, it doesn't work. Yeah. So like, look, for the trade for me was basically Peltier for Farabee, because one project for another, one guy that needed a change of scenery for another. Because also Peltier, what happened with him is him too. Like he had a shoulder injury a couple of seasons ago that set him back, and that really hurt his development also, because he, like I said, he's only 23 years old. So that's the way I see it. Farabee for Peltier, and then we got a second and Kuzmenko for Frost. So we have to take a contract back, and we get a second round pick. So like, and like Alex said, this trade you won't know the result of this trade for another 2-3 years, because personally, I think the Flyers have the biggest risk of losing this trade, because I think Farabee has the potential to be a 70-point guy in this league. He could, if he figures it out and he just finds that right mix, that right partner to like open up his game. I can easily see him be a 70-point player in this league. But
it's easier said than done, though.
The way it was going in Philly, it wasn't going to happen here. That's unfortunately,
And you know what I liked about Farabee's game so much is he drove the net. I felt like more last year, and he kind of got away from that a bit to in the rush. Maybe going to Calgary and getting that fresh start can help him. He's got underrated puck handling skills. He's got a decent shot. So hopefully being on a line with Kadri and Huberdeau could help rejuvenate him. He hasn't got any points in the 2 games he's played there yet. But, obviously it's very young. Frost scored a goal yesterday for Calgary, so that was cool to see. Like, I'm hoping success for these guys. It's not like I'm rooting against them just so the Flyers have validation on trading them. I want to see the 2 kids succeed. And listen, I'm very similar to you on this. Joel was one of my favorite players on the team. He was a class act from day one. He had some time on ice issues. I don't think he was healthy scratched until this year. But, him and Torch behind the scenes had some come-ups in his first year here. But he was always handled himself with nothing but class and professionalism. And that's what I liked about Joel the most. As I mentioned on the Flyer Report, I met his father out in Tampa Bay back in last March and had a nice 5-minute conversation with him. Really cool dude. And I asked him, how did you enjoy your time? How's your son enjoying his time here in Philly? Because he loves it. He can't stop raving about it. I saw pictures of him behind the scenes going to Phillies games, hanging with the guys, both during the season and off season. He spent his summers in Philly. So it's not like he'd play here, leave, and be gone. No, he was someone here that would chill for the summer. Him, Sanheim, Konechny, guys like that always seem like that core that like to chill here in the summer while the other 70% of the players went to where they would for the summer. But he really was loved here. Yeah, and I no disrespect to Joel. I want to see him succeed. I still think he has that layer. I think out of the 4 players moved, he's the guy that probably has the most to show and prove. Morgan Frost, I want to see him succeed, but I don't think he's going to change from what he was. He's done it with multiple coaches where he's been consistently inconsistent, where he shows up for a little bit and then, as I put yesterday, put Jamey in a laughing attack. He goes missing on a milk carton. I think that's what he is.
As not a Flyers fan and not a guy that knows those two guys that intimately, I don't know that I see them as top 6 anyway.
I think Farabee has the potential for it. I don't think Frost
I think maybe had the potential for it. I don't know if he still does.
Well, Joel's only 24. It's not like he's old.
Is he? It seems he's around.
He's not an old player at all. Frost is only 25 too, but Frost, the way he plays versus the way Joel plays, Joel I feel like has more to unlock. Frost, I think he's just is what he is. Not a bad player, a high-end 3C.
Farabee already has 2 20-goal seasons under his belt. Plus, he could have had a third. If you would have prorated that season he got hurt, he was on pace for 20 easy. Yeah. And look, like last season, he had 45 points in the first 62 games. And then, like I said, then he just hit a wall. And like his point, then he had 5 in the last 20. So that's why, like, it's so confusing what happened to this guy. It doesn't make sense.
That's why
he's got 29 points in his last 84 games played.
That's why he's not top 6, not consistent enough. Yeah. Maybe. Anyway,
if he can find what he was, maybe he could scratch again. He's still young enough. Frost is too, but the same thing. It's just Frost and Farabee. The styles are a little different, and I don't see Frost translating as much. Miss Prime, what do you have to add?
It's quiet down there, eh?
I know.
I think you guys hit the nail on the head with this one. I don't think there really is anything else to add.
Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Which was the next one?
That was the JT Miller trade. That was probably the biggest of the 4 for sure. The second trade saw JT Miller, Eric Brandstrom, and Jackson Dorrington heading to New York in exchange, and apologize if I botched his name.
Philip Heidel. I think it's pronounced Heidel.
It is. It's pronounced Heidel. Philip Heidel.
Yeah, that Philip Heidel, Victor Mancini, and a 2025 first. That was top 13 protected, if I remember correctly.
Yes, top 13.
I did not like.
Should we go over why they had to trade Miller? Or that's been talked.
We can bring it up again. It's obvious, but we can bring it up again. There was a rift. There was a big rift in that locker room.
Yeah, rift in the locker room, and they had to trade either him or Elias Pettersson. And it seems like when they traded Miller, I don't know who brought this up. Was it Matt or was it Alex that brought this up in the chat? That it seems like they moved some of his clips.
That was me. I told you about that last Have Normals. I had a feeling when they make this trade, it's not just going to be JT Miller. It's going to be JT Miller and Team Miller. for lack of a better word. And you saw that with the trade they made right after this too.
Yeah,
I think one guy was a prospect, but yeah, I mean, the rift had gotten so bad, and I mean, again, just read that interview with Jim Rutherford about that they were going to have to move multiple pieces. Moving just JT Miller wasn't going to solve it. The locker room is too far gone, so yeah, I'm not surprised. You saw kind of an exodus, and so it's JT Miller, and I think counting both trades, it was him and four or five other guys too. Yeah,
they got rid of Vincent Desharnais, Danton Heinen, former Bruin, right?
Yeah,
and Melvin
he's been to Pittsburgh
Fernstrom.
twice now.
And Melvin Fernstrom. So I don't know who was part of the clique. I mean, Heinen only just got there. Doesn't mean he's not part of the clique, but so I don't know. I don't know who. Oh, clicking the wrong spot. I don't know who. But it seems like they probably moved out guys. The Habs had to do this a while back with, I think it was right out, somewhere around when they moved Patrick Roy, I think. They had to move a few other guys because there was a rift in the room as well. Two sides, two cliques, and it wasn't going well. And they moved out one side. They moved them all. And it helped. So, I mean, I imagine Vancouver, that's what they're trying to do. I'm hearing, I guess from you guys yesterday on the Flyer podcast, hearing that at least you guys seem to think that they're still going to maybe move on Pettersson as well.
I still believe
I don't see that.
I don't think it'll be this season. I think Vancouver's going to run the year and just see what happens. But if there's not improvement in that locker room, and I think that'll be well determined by whether they make the playoffs or not. If there's no improvement in this locker room, I think very easily Elias Pettersson can be moved. There's been talks that
they'll move out the other guys that are causing. I mean, they got to keep one of those two big guys. So,
well, they're not going to move like Demko or Hughes or anything like that, and they could stick. If Vancouver misses the playoffs with the talent that they have, who's to say they don't look at this and say this locker room's still a mess? We might want to consider a little bit of a retool. Why not move a Pettersson, get a haul for him, and I wouldn't say start from scratch, but
and in a retool.
Yeah,
that's not a retool. That's
it depends what you get for him.
You're moving a guy like that, and you're in rebuild mode.
It depends what you get for him because you could get.
Jim Rutherford spoke about that too. If it comes to it, if it comes to having to move Pettersson too, then Hughes is going. Like they're going into a full scale rebuild. I mean, it was quoted in that interview. So
you'd have to.
I mean, we'll see. But again, with Miller gone and what I'll assume. Again, I mean, we don't know for sure, but some of his
his crew.
The only reason why I say
we'll see what happens if things improve. I don't think Pettersson's moving at all. Again, I mean, we'll see how they end the season.
And if they're going to do all that, I wouldn't let Rutherford do it.
Yeah,
I'd bring somebody else in.
Or isn't Patrick Alvin the GM now?
Whoever is
GM.
GM.
Rutherford's just the president of the team.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, but whoever is GM during this rift and all that, I wouldn't let this guy make my retool or whatever.
The thing is, if they were to trade Pettersson, I don't fully agree it would be a full-scale rebuild for the sheer fact that you still have two high-end cornerstone pieces.
It depends on what you get back.
That's what I was saying. You could trade Pettersson for high-end or good talent and still be able to make things work. You still have two cornerstone talents in Quinn Hughes and Thatcher.
So Philly would be out then.
No, you got. Sorry, wait a second. You got to trade Pettersson. You got to trade Pettersson for same kind of talent back.
I could make you a package right now that could go around with talent and maybe a sprinkling of picks. One guy, so just to bring us into perspective real quick, the Flyers just had a recent ticket sale increase, and they mentioned a couple guys that they're going to be building around. Names that were mentioned: Mitchkov, Brink, Forster, York, and there was one more I'm blanking on.
Did you say Cates?
Cates was the last one. Forster, Brink, York, Cates, and Mitchkoff. One name that coincidentally, young talent. One name that was left out was Owen Tippett. He just got signed to an 8-year deal, $6.2
Okay,
million.
but he's not a center.
Going
Vancouver's
up.
not trading Pedersen unless they get a center back.
Right. And a good
that's
one.
where Luchenko comes in. You would move a Luchenko, Tippett, and probably more pieces as well. Obviously, there's going to be more pieces than just Tippett.
Here's
but
why I say no. Here's why I'd say no. A talent like Pedersen, unless there's something changed with him and he's fallen off, but a talent like that, you can't. If you don't replace it with like talent, you might as well rebuild completely, right? You're getting rid of a talent that is not every team has.
Oh no, I'm not disagreeing with
that.
I
don't see them doing that.
But if people know that the player wants out and the team wants him out, you're not going to get full value for him because you don't have the leverage that you had before.
Pedersen still wants out. Now that Miller's gone.
Where does it? Who heard Pedersen still wants out now that Miller's gone?
It's been rumored. Elliot Freeman, I think, suggested that it was still a possibility. It was one of the high-end reporters that suggested, maybe it wasn't Freeman, but it was one of the high-end reporters saying it is a possibility in the summer. It could still happen.
Before the Miller trade, yeah, but now, like, you got to let him marinate.
No, that's why I'm saying it's not going to happen in season. It would be a summer move if it were to happen. They're not going to do it.
I can't see it, in my opinion. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean,
what I had heard,
not trading your 1C for.
Yeah, if you have to in one season or after one have to trade your top 2 centers because of a rift, fire the fucking management, man.
Mm-hmm.
Something bad happened.
That's the other big issue here, right? Like they let that rift simmer so long that it completely fucked up the locker room. Like,
that's what I'm arguing that could be happening.
Well, that's it. But now that they got rid of one,
they moved Pedersen. They're gonna have to.
Hold on. Eric's got to say something.
No, there's no way they don't go into a rebuild if they move Pedersen. That just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no. Look, what I heard, like you said, like Alex with the insiders, is again like what I had heard from listening to like Friedman and Saravalli is basically they want to see from now until the off season how he's gonna respond, how Pedersen is gonna respond, and if they don't feel like he's the type of guy that could lead this team, then they would look into actually trading him. And like I feel like you don't have to, if you trade him, you don't have to rebuild depending on the return. Because now look, the one return that's always been like that's always been a bit like floated out there is like Dylan Cousins and Bourne Byram. So if you're getting a package like that, like you have a young center in Cousins, then now you just got Hedl in the JT Miller trade. So you got 2 young centers. Now I'm not saying they're equal value to what JT Miller and Pedersen are. Not at all. They're not up to that. But now you're solidifying your back end because you have Hronek, you have Hughes. Now you're gonna add Byram, plus you and whoever else that you add later on, and you rebuild that decor. Plus you have Thatcher Demko and Kevin Lankinen holding down the fort in goal. Like, yeah, look, you're gonna be a lot weaker down the middle, guaranteed. But you don't have to rebuild right away. You could give it a year to see how it goes, a year, maybe 2, and then you see, okay, well, if we're not competitive because our centers are just not up to snuff, then you could look into the rebuild. But I'm saying like you don't have to rebuild right away if you trade Pedersen. Obviously, if you're trading him and you're only for futures and you're only getting like prospects and picks in return, then then you might as well rebuild. But I'm thinking that Vancouver doesn't want to rebuild because of Quinn Hughes, because of Hronek, because of Thatcher Demko, and they have these pieces there to compete. So I think if they trade Pedersen, they're going to want an established center in return for sure. That's why I think the Flyers are going to be hard pressed to get him. That's one I'm like, and that's why Buffalo for me makes the most sense with Dylan Cousins. But look at Vancouver, not Vancouver, sorry, but look at Minnesota. What if they trade him for Marco Rossi? Marco Rossi's almost a point per game this season.
Again, it's just I don't know.
But like,
I'll ask.
I got the number 1 center in this league right now.
I got to ask this. If their question is, well, let's see how he responds, why the fuck did you sign him to that contract then?
It may not have been as big of an issue.
Well, that's the other thing. And we'll get to the cap going up, but that's still $11.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
If that's how confident you are in this guy you just signed to $11.5 million for 8 years, really?
I mean, they just did that with JT Miller, and now he's gone.
Yeah, it's management.
They're going to pay
management
him
needs to go.
6 years, I think, in New York now.
Management needs to go over there. That's crazy.
No, I can agree with you for sure. Sounds like management is just as much to blame here as the locker room for letting it get to this point. If they nipped this in the bud in the offseason and either maybe sat them down and tried calming things down before it escalated to this level, or then traded one of them in the offseason, it wouldn't have been, probably more likely Miller at the time, it wouldn't have been anything close to this level of escalation. Now it's so bad that there's still issues potentially.
Or why didn't you move Pedersen before you signed him to that huge contract?
It may not have been.
If that's how confident you are in this guy you just signed, to say, well, let's see how he responds. Really?
It may not have been.
You're that confident in him. To me, that shows no confidence in your.
Yeah, but you don't let go of a 100-point player. Like you don't not resign a 100-point player. I think that's the and look,
no, I know
in the management's defense,
it's not what I'm saying.
Elliot Friedman and even Saravalli had the same thing. They have tried. They did try to
but that's not what I'm saying.
Together and try and stop this rift that between Pedersen and they tried. So I'll give them that. They did try. But I think now and you know what? When you're winning, the last couple of years, Vancouver was winning. So you look at it this way and you're like, well, it's easy to hide a rift when your team is winning. But now this year it got to a certain point where I guess they just couldn't stand each other anymore. And look, it sucks because now you just lost a number one center in JT Miller. This guy could be a number one center on a lot of teams. And now look, if Pedersen doesn't pan out, now you have to find a way to trade him. So it's a weird situation, but I don't know. We'll see.
I just find it weird. If Pedersen doesn't work out, man, why would you sign a guy like that?
And that's
with that contract, and you're still saying if he doesn't work out, really? They should have confidence and now start building around him a little more moving forward.
Yeah, but Rick, how often does it happen that you see these players that are putting up big numbers, and then all of a sudden they get paid, and then there's an issue after? Because it was never an issue with Pedersen before.
Again, that's management. Then they should have known better.
That's a management issue. I don't think anyone's arguing that. But.
Yeah. Wow. Just saying.
But
but wait a second. Again, why I'm saying that? It's a management issue. Don't let this management group make that decision on Pedersen.
I mean, that's fair. I probably would fire him before making the move too. But I don't think it's going to change anything. The new management group, if it's still a bad riff, would probably still have to move him anyway. It's just be under a new
But I think that maybe I'll get a little more competent deals, movement. I'd be more have more confidence in what they're doing than this group that screwed it all up.
I mean, that's a different argument, but that's also fair too. I probably would honestly agree with that to do the same thing. Because I wouldn't trust a management group that got you into this issue to begin with to get yourself out.
Right.
So I definitely understand that.
Yeah.
He just extended, I believe, in March too. So
right.
I don't know what the rift was then. It was only 11 months ago, number one.
Why did they make it?
They were winning more then too. Vancouver we mentioned it in last year's pod episodes. Vancouver was one of the biggest, if not the biggest surprise in the NHL
last year. Yeah.
So we expected them to have that level of success or something close to it again. They haven't been as good this year for sure. I don't even know if they're going to make the playoffs. With Calgary being carried by Dustin Wolf and playing as well as he has, who right now, mind you, that's my Calder pick. He's been incredible, but that's besides the point.
The goalie's not going to win it.
If they make the playoffs, I think he does. I think he gets even over Celebrini if they make it. But besides the point. The issue is right now with Vancouver is they're not winning as much. The rift got is bad. You got to get rid of the GM if it continues to be this much of an issue. You add 2 trades. I don't think they want either of them, to be honest with you, especially the Pittsburgh one. If we're going to be talking about these trades about value, that Pittsburgh one, you just got a first rounder from New York, top 13 protected. And then you flip it over to Pittsburgh. Who's to say New York's pick doesn't end up top 13? And then it becomes a 2026 unprotected pick. And if New York continues to struggle the way they could in a even deeper draft next year, you may have just given away a lottery ticket.
Again, shows you management doesn't know what they're doing.
Oh, no, I absolutely agree with you. That was mind-boggling to me why you added that pick in that trade.
Yeah,
that is.
I mean, for Marcus
the Hoggy guy wasn't happy about it either. It was kind of funny.
For Marcus Pedersen,
they held that pick for about the equivalent of about friggin' an episode of The Simpsons. Like, I didn't understand that.
Yeah, I didn't get that one either, to be honest.
Well,
I wouldn't let this guy make these moves that they need to make now. I wouldn't trust
also,
him.
it's because I think they ended up having to pay a first for Pedersen and Drew O'Connor. Also, because they dumped the contracts of Danton Heinen and Vincent Desharnais. So
how much was Heinen?
Okay, but did they dump the contracts, or were they part of the problem?
No, they were dumped contract. Desharnais was a scratch for like the longest time on that deep. That was
doesn't mean he's not part of the problem though in the locker room. Doesn't mean he's not.
I don't know if he was part of the problem or not, but basically they got rid of his contract. I think he was at $2 million this year and next, and Danton Heinen was at $2.25 this year and next also.
They just signed that guy. Like, they just signed him in the offseason. Like, it doesn't make sense.
I'm actually a fan of Danton Heinen, so I don't know why they.
So I think they just signed the guy in the offseason. Now, I think maybe either he didn't fit, he wasn't the guy they thought, or he's part of the problem there with Miller.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know if he was part of the problem because he's just been there for he just had a cup of coffee. So maybe I think it's just he wasn't performing to their expectations or.
No, we don't know from behind the scenes who's friends, who's not. We don't know that, though. Right? So, I would tend to lean towards they got rid of as much of that faction as they could.
100%.
You got to think that. Anyway. All right, let's move on to another trade because I'm tired of talking about that one now.
You said,
we got one more.
You, JT Miller.
Well, we got one more. We got one more trade, and it is the Sharks trade Michael Granlund and Cody Ceci to the Stars for a 2025 first-round pick and a 2025 third-round pick that's conditional, which means if the Stars win the Cup or make the playoffs, I'm not sure, that probably third becomes a second.
If they make the final.
Final? Okay.
I thought it was
right, so I don't know what the condition is. Come on.
He's just said if they make the final, does it become a second this year or next year?
This year, no?
It would be? Okay.
That I don't remember, but I know the condition was on the Stars making the final.
Yeah. Making the final, right? It says making the final. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm happy that they made that trade because we play them tomorrow and we fucking need a win, and that's going to help us.
Rick, you're not making the playoffs.
It doesn't matter. We need a win. And I don't want to see them lose against the Ducks and then the Sharks.
How'd you lose to Cutter's crappy ass?
Never mind. I don't want to talk about it. It was last night. Forget it.
Hey, Cutter's on the fourth line now.
We actually won a game against someone on a live stream. We never watch wins on live streams.
So I'm happy because Granlund's gone. So that makes it easier for us tomorrow, I would think. But I mean, I don't know what to say about that trade. Granlund's a good player.
He's a very good player.
It's good depth for Dallas. I like the trade for them. I mean, Cody Ceci sucks, but
but wait a second. Is Granlund a UFA at the end of the season?
They're both UFAs, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think they're both UFAs.
Okay, so that's why. And listen, at this point with the tournament and the 2-week break, this is just before the trade deadline right now. Mm-hmm. So these kind of moves, that's a trade deadline move. That makes sense.
I like that. Go ahead, Naughty.
Oh, no, I was going to say, it sounds like Miro Heiskanen's going to be out for a while.
Yeah.
So they needed more depth on the back end.
Okay, but Cody Ceci for Miro Heiskanen?
Well, I know. That's what I'm saying. But, from last I read, he was going to see a specialist for his knee. So whatever it is, it's not good.
Yeah. I will say I like Mikael Granlund's game. He's had a very good season this year. I actually like him in fantasy. I think this is a win-win for both teams personally. I like what Dallas got out of this. They got a first-round pick. What San Jose got out of this. They got a first-round pick to add to the pool of picks that they already have. I love San Jose's rebuild, mind you. Chicago, take notes because San Jose's doing it right.
Yeah, it's a trade deadline trade, right? So they got rid of guys that are UFAs, and they got back a first-round pick. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
They got rid of Cody
a first.
Ceci.
They potentially may have added another second. But Dallas' sake, they added a guy who on a crappy San Jose team is probably on about a 65, 70-point pace this year.
Yeah, he's good. I have him in fantasy. He puts up points.
Granlund's a good player. I love that pickup for Dallas a lot. It's great depth.
It's a good pickup for Dallas.
CC thing is for depth because Heiskanen is going to be out for a while. So
CC is
which is a huge blow to Dallas, like on the back end.
Yeah,
I think he's their best defenseman.
Heiskanen, for sure.
CC could be a problem too, but I guess
CC's a third pairing.
No,
guy.
I know.
Yeah.
But at this point, you need depth.
Seventh defenseman.
Yeah.
No, a body out there. That's what he is. Yeah, honestly, I mean, listen, it's a good trade for Dallas. No, it's a good trade for both. That's almost even a hockey trade, even though
that's
it's a deadline
probably
trade.
The most even of the foreign trades I think that I saw. I had no issue with it for either team. I think both teams got what they needed out of it.
Yeah,
especially like I said, I love it for Dallas. I've picked Dallas the last 3 years. This third year in a row, I picked Dallas to win the cup.
Third time's a charm.
You're gonna be right.
Third time's a charm, they say, Alex.
Third time's a charm. I'm sticking with Dallas for the cup.
No,
man. Honestly, I was actually kind of surprised by this trade, to tell you the truth, because with all like the cap space that Dallas is gonna have, with all these LTI, with all the LTIR space that they're gonna have, I honestly thought they'd go like bigger on defense if it's like at least a better player on defense, because like we said, like Cody Ceci at best, he's third pair, maybe a 7, right? And look, I like me too. I've always been a kind of a fan of Michael Granlund, but he has a weird history though of like getting traded and then struggling. Like if you look at his numbers, like when he was with Minnesota and then he got traded to Nashville, he had 5 points in 16 games when he got traded. Then he gets traded from Nashville to Pitt, then puts up 5 in 21. And like, look, now so far, like he
You're not wrong.
Yeah, he registered a point with Dallas last game, so hopefully, it's just I don't know. It was always a weird case with Michael Granlund, but like I like that player too. I think he fits Dallas very well.
Eric, the guy's booming. He's on an 82-point pace. Buy high.
We'll see. Like because what's good about Granlund, he's got the positional versatility. He can play wing or center.
Yeah.
So, but I'm just a little like I don't know if maybe they're planning to put Heiskanen maybe on LTIR also. Maybe he might be done until the playoffs also. I don't know, but like they really needed help on defense. Personally, I think especially now that you lost Heiskanen and you only got Cody Ceci. I don't know. I find that just a little weird.
Well, there might be another move out there. You never know.
You would think there has to be.
Yeah, I would.
Ristolainen's available, Dallas. I'll give him to you if you want.
You're like a carnival. You're a carnival barker with the Ristolainen. Anybody mentions anything? Oh, Ristolainen's available. Come on.
Well, he's our big trade.
Come on in and check out Ristolainen.
Didn't Jamey say he got hurt though?
But he's dinged up right now. But
everybody's dinged up right now anyway.
He should be here.
Hey,
speaking of Jamey Bascal,
what's going on, man?
Jamey.
Hello.
What's up, Jamey?
Hey, not too much, youngsters. All y'all, 21, 22. What's going on? No, I'm joking.
I wish I was. Jesus, I wish I
was. Rick, you're the youngest of us all. You're 18.
Yeah,
he's 18 at heart.
I told you I like Jamey a lot. I like him even more right now.
Eric, loving the Expos hat, man.
Represent.
Is that Is that like an Italian Expos hat, or is that the original? Huh?
Nah, that's not
an Italian Expos.
Italian. Nicole brought it up off screen before we started.
It was actually like a special series that Lid was doing with country colors on different teams. So I clearly saw the Italian Expos. I'm like, yep.
Nice. Okay. Liking it. Are you Italian?
Yes, I am. Yeah,
okay.
My parents are from Italy.
I should have put 2 and 2 together, right? This is kind of a stupid question.
Martino.
I know, right?
He's
probably like, duh.
Rick, I have every time I give my name somewhere, I have to specify with an O. because in Quebec in French there's Martineau.
Oh yeah,
AU.
Yeah.
So I have to specify no Martino with an O. Like,
yeah.
Just
Not
N-O,
Martino.
not
Martino.
Martino.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, it's special
Quebec.
living here in Quebec sometimes. Very special.
Jamey, we were just going over the Dallas and San Jose trade. What's your opinion on that?
What's your opinion?
I think Dallas gets stronger. They're just a team to be reckoned with, I think. But in San Jose's, it just shows that they're still, 3-4 years away. Flyer land, what do we say? 2 to 3 years away. You know what I mean? So in San Jose land, it's 3 to 4 years away. But
that's a trade deadline deal.
I'm going to be honest.
That's a trade deadline deal, wouldn't you say? I mean, we're all.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, all these are trade deadline deals.
We're at the trade deadline right now, basically. Mm-hmm. If it was a regular season amount of games, we're about where it would be. So it's a trade deadline deal, yeah.
Well, I think Alex and Eric in particular hit the nail on the head the other day, when we were recording yesterday, that, with the Four Nations tournament and having that 2 weeks off, I think it's speeding a lot of things up. And GMs, you saw Danny Briere, he made a deal when he was in Arizona scouting. So I think a lot of GMs are also doing that. And they're like, this is the last week, it is what it is. The guys are probably every team is tired, because they're playing all these back-to-backs trying to get the games in, that the GMs are like, hey, let's go scout, Yep. So they're all together. They're going to be together at the Four Nations tournament too. So.
Well, I said it a couple weeks ago, Rick, when we had Trig on. It's basically the Four Nations is basically the trade deadline for all intents and purposes this year.
Yeah, it's basically it's basically a couple of weeks. Yeah, it's like the start of the break is basically like a couple of weeks before the deadline in time, and over the last how many years, that couple of weeks before the deadline, there's a lot of deals that happen.
Yeah, Alex, I don't think there's a freeze. I think the only freeze is a holiday freeze.
Right. I was asking that question the other day.
Happen during this. Interesting.
Yeah. So I think you're going to see some trades happening in the break.
I heard, I was in the background, obviously, when you guys were talking about Rasmus. Yes, he's hurt. He's out with he's day-to-day with an upper body injury. But you can still be traded if you're hurt. It doesn't mean,
the value goes down.
I don't think so. I don't think it does. I don't think it does, especially if it's not a serious injury. I see where you're coming from. I see your angle.
Depends on the injury.
Yeah. I see your angle. But, I'm going to be honest, like they got doctors that are better than you or I, our doctors, and stuff. Yeah. They'll do their due diligence. I think that a landing spot, if you're looking at it, I think was it Eric or Alex brought it up? I think Toronto. I think Toronto is a good, pecking. They just got a lot of trade chips.
Who, Toronto?
Yeah.
They don't have a first this year, but they have some young guys I'd be interested in for sure.
I mean, when you look at
Cowan, kind of sucks.
John Tavares, they're going for it, but John Tavares is UFA at the year's end. Do they want to trade, John Tavares, and get something for him now at the trade deadline? Possible. I mean,
you want to pay his salary that he's going to ask for?
I mean, if you're talking about, like a team like the Flyers that gets a heads up over bidding wars with some of these free agents, why not? You could do a sign and trade.
I think it'd be more likely we get someone a little younger than you.
Oh yeah, I agree. I'm just saying hypothetically, like San Jose, for instance, they want to, try to add here. Maybe they want to. They're going to have tons of money. Anaheim's going to have tons of money. Those teams, why not take a stab at, Tavares and hey, maybe he'll sign, for a few years. Why not?
I feel so bad for the Anaheim players. What a miserable place to work right now with that freaking organization.
Yeah. But what the heck is going over there in Boston?
Oh,
I don't know, but I want to see more of it.
They're in trouble.
Yeah.
They're in trouble.
That slide of Boston was kind of, you could see it for a couple of years. I've been calling for it for like 3 years. They're
not going to make
didn't wait long enough. But I mean, they got nothing in the cupboard.
No,
they got nothing in the cupboard.
Make it this year.
Yeah, they got
I
nothing in the
think
cupboard.
Detroit and
Bad
Columbus
team.
was my wild cards a
Hockey.
few weeks ago. That's who the 2 wild cards are right now. So
Now listen, Boston. I hope they fall out.
I think you're gonna get your wish. That team just doesn't have the depth that they usually have. The back end's too banged up. They still don't have McAvoy or Lindholm back yet. Lindholm sounds like he's close, but he's
close.
still banged up. They're probably going to trade Frederick, which is going to get rid of some of the girth. They're Elias fucking Lindholm. What a shit fucking sandwich contract that is.
Oh God, that was bad.
Cam just won't admit it. I don't care.
Yeah, he won't.
He
won't admit that it was a bad contract signing.
I said it from
It's kind of a dead giveaway when you're paying your third line center $7.5 million.
7.75.
I'm going to be honest, Nordy. If that was in Flyerland, that GM would be. They'd have him on a pitchfork outside the Wells Fargo Center.
Well, yeah, but Sweeney.
Oh, yeah,
the Flyers fans are losing their mind with AMAC being in the lineup, making $5 million. As a type, either in the first pairing or second pairing. They were losing their crap, Flyers fans, man. I can only imagine what a third line center making 7.75. Hey, you know what? Actually, we sort of do. Coots, he's been, relegated in a fourth line role, and Flyers fans are like, why is he fourth line? So,
okay, but wait a second, though. You didn't just sign him to almost $8 million for 7 years, right? That's not the case there. So it's different.
Well, we signed him the year before he got hurt. Let's put that.
Okay,
that was the difference. Couture got
a difference
because of his injuries. He had 2 back surgeries and the hernia surgeries. So that's him. It's just a bunch of mileage plus all the friggin' wear and tear that happened to his body. So.
But signing Lindholm this year for Boston was a big mistake, and by a GM that should get fired.
Zadorov can't stay on the ice.
Mm-hmm.
He keeps I think he widened the gap and leading the league in PIMS.
Yeah.
No, isn't it Zadorov?
Right now, they're not built to play the modern game. They're too big. They're too slow. Bern's right. They have nothing in the cupboard, and what they do have, they won't call up unless it's Matt Patra, and they really only have one pick each round. And they only have their own draft picks. I think it's saved for maybe a second, fifth, or something. But
as I've said before, that contract.
Do they mortgage that and try to make one final push, or do they kind of be smart and just sell?
They're going to go for one final push because Sweeney's trying to save his job.
Yeah,
that's the only, and that's why they got in trouble. The big problem was Sweeney. Those moves that you saw him make, that's a GM that knew he was desperate, trying to save his job. In my opinion, what Sweeney did with Swayman, with signing Lindholm, this is a guy that just tried to make it work because he wants to save his job.
Yeah.
Well, that's what's frustrating about the Flyers. Right now they haven't scored in 3 games, right? So Rodrigo Abels, he looks. Listen, great story. He just looks a little slow. Why not recall Samu Tuamala? I mean, the guy was killing it towards the latter parts of the last few weeks here. They need a scoring punch. I don't understand. He can play center too. Huh?
I say exactly. And you can move Lawton to center.
Okay.
You don't have to have 8 balls there.
I don't understand what they're doing here. They're recalling. Rodrigo again. Great story. Jakob Goucher. Goucher. Great story. But Samu, when does he get his shot?
It's Gaucher, I think, by the way.
Oh, Gaucher. Yeah. I butcher names.
It's okay. It's okay. Just having fun with that. I'm just having fun.
And you know what? It's a French Canadian, and I tell you, we probably just lost a sub.
No. They're used to it. Hey, listen, Alex just mispronounced my name at the opening.
I'm on a butchering streak tonight.
Yeah, so I got an easy name.
Yeah.
Maybe not. All right. Are we moving on from the trades?
Yes, we are. It is time to talk about the cap. Rick, why don't you lead us into that?
All right. So we had a big announcement made, I don't know, was it 3 days ago, 2-3 days ago, about the cap going up. It was supposed to go up. We knew this year, but it's going to go up even higher. So here's the list. For the next 3 years, the cap is going to go up to $95.5 million next season, which is what, $7 million increase instead of the 4.5 they were talking about. In 26-27, we're going to get up to $104 million. So that's another $9 million on that. and then the next year 113.5. So it's going up in leaps and bounds over the next few years. So the league kind of, remember in the last couple of years, don't know what kind of money we're making, don't know what we can do. They were making a lot of money, is clear, or we wouldn't get those kind of jumps. Would you guys agree with that?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were kind of like, oh, we don't know. We got that. Look at the kind of jumps. They must have been making a lot of money. Like, really. So
well,
the league's
they were
healthy.
still handcuffed by the CBA that they had during COVID. So they couldn't raise the cap the way they like to actually reflect the money that they've been making since. So that's why now you're getting these jumps now that it's so massive, and now we'll see what goes on.
Well, I hope the NHL doesn't turn into like the NBA, where average players are like making 30 and 40 million in the NBA, and in hockey, an average player is going to, an average salary is going to be like 4.5, 5 million. Now it's going to be, in upwards of like 6.5, 7 million. So, the cap is going up, but the prices of players are also going to go up. And I think, it's great. But I think fans don't really understand that aspect. And they're like, oh, I'll talk about Flyers, Flyerland in particular. They're like, oh, yeah, the Flyers, they'll have like 25 million, they could go out. Yeah, they'll get one big name, sign them to like, 13, 14 million. And people are going to be like, oh, that's a massive overpay. Well, you have to understand that, the cap, originally probably would have been a $10 million player. But now you're talking, a $10 million player is now going to make upwards of 13, 14 million. So you're talking about an extra 3 or 4 million, per player, at least 2 to 4.
And
I don't think you'll have to worry about what you mentioned with the NBA as much, though, because the NHL is a hard cap, where the NBA is more of a luxury tax-based cap. So if the NBA, you can go over the cap to a certain amount. But the NHL, you can't, unless if you use LTIR after the season begins.
Yeah.
But
hockey players are tougher anyway. You're looking at James Van Riemsdyk. They lost 4 teeth, got hit in the face with the puck, got stitched, had his tooth in like in his mouth, or they stitched it. The tooth that broke, they stitched it up. Had to undo the stitch, get the tooth out, and here Paul George is down with his pinky.
Yeah. No, hockey players are tough. Come on. Yeah. It started out because most of them were Canadian. So, hey.
No, but for real, though, like a lot of that. No, but you bring up a good point, Jamie. Like fans are going to have to readjust what they think of a player's worth, and that's it, with the cap going up. And I think, what? It might actually start going back to the way things used to be pre-cap, where you're gonna have, because like, look, what was it, the projected 115 million for year 3 or something like that?
Yeah, 113.5.
Look, you're
and I think just the floor, I think, is going to be 90 when it's that. So
yeah, so I think something like 88, 90,
something like that. Yeah,
you're gonna have teams that are not going to spend up to the cap, that they probably won't be able to.
Even come to the floor might be tough when it's up at 90 or close to 90. Don't you think? It's really high floor.
No, for sure. And you know what? I think it might actually benefit like a team like the Flyers. Because you remember, like back in the day, the Flyers could outbid anybody because there was no cap. Mm-hmm. Well, now maybe we could start outbidding people because, you know what? Team X doesn't want to spend 113 million, but the Flyers and Comcast are like, I don't give a shit. Let's go.
Money's paperless to them.
So who knows? I could see that happening too, where now, because now that everything is so like, there's so much parity, maybe this is going to start to alleviate a bit of that parity. So because teams are not going to be able to afford some of these players because they're going to have an internal cap.
That's an odd thing you just said, actually, that it might eliminate some of the parity. I wouldn't think that's what the league wants. I think they want this parity. They want these log jams here at the end of near the end of the season, and that excitement. So I would be surprised if they're doing something like this and it's going to eliminate some of the parity.
I do agree with Eric to a degree, for sure. One thing that is interesting about it too, now that the salary caps go up, another thing to look into perspective is the cap floor is going to go up. These guys on LTIR on rebuilding teams that might be more movable than prior years. Like, for example, with us, Ryan Ellis, maybe out in Toronto, You have a guy. Who the hell's the winger that they have?
But wait a second. That's going to increase overpriced players.
Oh no, it's a mixture of
That's
both.
a problem.
But that's going to take time until enough players are overpriced. I think the earlier years that.
Yeah, but then, okay, in 5 years, you're going to have a lot of guys that got paid because they wanted to get to the floor aren't worth the money. And I don't know how that is that good, that bad? I don't think that's good.
I mean, over time, the cap's going to keep going up, I assume. But
well, I would think at a certain point it's just gonna like flatline, right? Like because now, like I said, we're getting these big increases because it hasn't increased since before COVID. So that's why you're seeing this major increase. But I think at a certain point it's gonna stabilize and it's gonna like.
I don't think it'll stabilize. I think they'll have to put something in place where you've got to limit. You're going to have to maybe have tiers of salaries, but you got to limit the top end because otherwise, as the cap goes up, players are going to make ridiculous amounts of money.
Yeah, but then that's going to have to be discussed in the CBA because the
cap
is.
That's what I'm saying. They're going to have to
links to revenue.
They're going to have to renegotiate something like that. In my opinion, I think they're going to have to limit. I know they do now. It's a percentage of the cap, right? That's the highest salary. I think that's too high already, and they got to limit it. I mean. Guys,
max is what, 16 million AAV
yeah, I mean,
now?
but that's
Something
crazy
like
money for a hockey player. Come on, 16 million a season. Come on.
Yeah, but no one.
It is. And
it's crazy.
That's why Kent Hughes prepared for this and signed all of our quota under $8 million.
Yeah, but you can only be
prepared. 8 fucking years.
But that's just down the road, though. It's going to be, you know what I mean? Even if you're prepared now, down the road is a problem.
I'll give you one thing, Matt. You guys did hit home runs on that Caulfield and Suzuki contract. Maybe not as much Slavkovsky yet, but I'll give you those other two.
Slav is 21 years old, dude.
Yeah, that's why I said yet. I'm definite. Give him room.
He's still on pace for 50 or more, so he's fine.
And he's what, Rick? What is he at? 7'7"?
7'8".
7'8". All right.
They're all at 7'8". Baby.
Yeah,
whatever.
No,
7'7".
The cap's about to go up. I don't care.
No, especially now.
Gooley's at $6 million, I think, for the next 7 years.
Yeah,
like
Gooley injury is going to be
us having Owen Tippett at $6.2 million. If he eventually becomes that 30 potential 40 goal scorer that we could see him, that could be a terrorist contract of a steal.
I actually, you know what? I'm actually sort of happy Cam York's having to slide right now because it makes his contract a little cheaper. I was a little worried about Cam York because he was killing it before the injury, and I was like, oh man, they're gonna freaking have to throw like $8 million at this guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's not the worst problem to have. That means you got good players, right? I don't think that's a huge problem.
No, but what I'm saying is, Rick, now they could lock him up for cheap. Say, hey,
I know what you're saying.
I mean, now they do.
The fact that you might have that kind of a problem, it means your team is good, and then I don't think that's a bad thing. That's what I mean.
I think the team is. I say they're around average. You know,
no, but
you know
I'm saying,
what I mean? Yeah.
Okay, the players you've got players that are good. I mean, you've got good players. You're not. Hopefully, you're.
Yeah, I mean,
with shitty players is what I mean. I guess you know.
Yeah. They're. You know, they just need. You know, honestly, they just need more talent. It's a shame that they're not getting the goal scoring right now. Samuel Erson's playing out of his mind. You know, just imagine if it wasn't for him. Holy crap. They'd be losing 7, 8, 9, nothing every night. You know, he's playing out of his mind. He really is. It's a shame that the team is actually where they're at, getting this type of caliber goaltending that he's giving them on a nightly basis. Even in the 5-1 loss, they should have lost that game 16-1. So, it's a shame. It really is.
That's part of being rebuilding.
Yeah, but.
Yep.
When you're getting this type of, goaltending, man, you're looking at contenders throughout the league. They're like, holy crap, I wish we had that. You know what I mean? If
you're not getting it, you're looking at, geez, are we ever going to get out of it? At least when you're getting that, you can see progress in your team and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, they're what they. I think Alex and Eric, we talk about it every week. They are what they are, and I'm pretty certain that all of us projected them to be where they're at right now. So. On the outside looking in, and I firmly believe that they're not going to make the playoffs, but unless Nordy gives them some good luck or something, maybe he'll go see. Maybe he'll go to the Fountain of Youth and or
give
something.
It to the Habs first, and we're probably not making. I mean, I say
none of us are
probably
making
not.
it this year.
I'm
said
being
that a few weeks ago.
I'm being nice when I say, we're probably not making it.
I just think the Rangers, man. I just see a Ranger team. Look, they just got beefed up there. I don't know. I think they're going to be a hard team to beat.
Yeah, well, with 30
I
games
think Columbus
left,
is sneaking in. I really do.
Oh man, that would be a great story, Alex.
It's a feel good story. I'm rooting for that.
I am too.
Columbus.
They deserve to get in.
Yeah.
All the crap they went through, they deserve it. But
with 30 games to go, basically for everybody, I mean, it's hard to tell. I mean, there's still time. Like for the Habs, we're kind of out of it. But I mean, if they go on another streak like they've been on, they're not out of it. It's such a weird time right now.
Well, the next time the Flyers play them, we'll win. The Flyers will win 10-0.
Jesus Christ!
You know that every time you do that, we clobber you. So that's what's going to happen, right?
Yeah, I'm having a good hair day, Rick, right now. So I actually firmly
I have a good hair day every day. I have a good hair day every day because I have none. So yeah.
Anyone else have anything to add though when it comes to the salary cap talk?
Well, I'd rather it went up than went down.
I mean, I don't think it'll ever go down.
Well, you know what I mean, though. We went through 4 years of it being stable, and I'd rather it goes up than it stays stable like that.
Oh,
that's for sure.
Like,
I mean, that's for sure. So yeah.
When you had the flat cap for 2 or 3 years after COVID, and then it only went up like $1 million or $2 million or something like that, it restricted you so much of what you could do. You really couldn't fuck up a contract.
Yeah.
Or you were really going to have your hands tied.
It
leverage.
It really made you see why you think you need it to go up every year. Mm-hmm. You can see why it has to go up every year. Otherwise, having a hard cap like that might be a really impossible system, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah. No, for sure. Then look what look what it did to Toronto. When they signed Tavares, they were expecting the cap to keep on going up and up and up. So it would have if not for COVID. And then
but it's also a good lesson to say maybe signing guys to those kind of contracts, because you don't know what's going to happen down the road.
Yeah,
I mean, when you're signing one guy, okay, but if you're signing multiple guys to those kind of numbers, you got to be really careful because something like this happens, and literally, Toronto could have won a cup. But literally, Toronto probably could have won a cup if they didn't sign those guys to those kind of contracts, and then they would have been able to fill out around them a lot better. Don't you think?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, but at the same time, you could also make the argument that if the world doesn't shut down, they could have won a cup because they would have had the cap would have been at 100 million right now, and so it's like.
Yeah, I know. I get that.
But
that's why we have insurance. Isn't that why we have insurance? Because you don't know what's going to happen.
I'm going to be honest. I agree with Eric. I don't expect a flatline cap. The NHL makes too much money for it not to go up every season.
No, I get that part.
So for it to flatline and say, "Oh no, well, we don't know about escrow. We don't know, about this." It's just how is the treasurer employed? For the NHL player for the captain raised for 2 or 3 years. How do you not know how much money you're bringing in? It's mind-boggling.
I think it was just so restrictive with that 2020 and 2021 with the loss of fan revenue.
Yeah,
that it kind of strapped them a little bit.
It didn't strap nothing. You know what I mean? More people were paying for packages and stuff. You're right, though. You're right. They threw that around as an excuse. But look, just here on this show, Nordy, you, Rick, Eric, and myself, how much should we pay for packages, for hockey packages, whether it's CHL packages, whether it's this package or whether it's that package? Shoot, every Canadian's probably throwing at least $400 or $500 for packages because hockey's hockey. That's their life. That's a Canadian's life. Every Canadian, I bet you, in every household is throwing $500 somewhere for hockey packages, whether it's the NHL, whether it's CHL, whether it's Swedish leagues they'll even watch probably. They'll watch Chinese leagues, if they could, but you know what I mean? I think it's a sorry excuse. That really
did go down.
That disturbed me.
But that wasn't really my point, by the way. My point was it's a great lesson for them to learn when the cap does go up to at least, be a little more in check and stop with these ridiculous.
You know what? Danny Briere's going to do a Paul Holmgren and go after Nice and throw $10 million at him and say, "Here, Toronto, match that."
Yeah, good. I hope so.
Get nines. I actually want to show you guys something. It was funny that we were just talking about this, about the NHL's revenue and how much it comes from. It's actually more than we thought. I want to just quickly screen share something real quick that I just pulled up. So this is a statistical analyst of what percent of the NHL's gate revenue comes from ticket sales every year from between 2010 to 2011 and 2022, 2023. That's a pretty big chunk if you look at it. Every single year on here is over 34%, over a third of it. A couple of these years is over 40%. But this doesn't have the last 2 years. But that's a big chunk of money that they did end up getting screwed out of because of COVID.
I think I read today that it was last year $6.2 billion.
So it's different between each league. Football, I know a lot more is based off of their TV packaging deals. NHL is more based off of their ticket sales just because they don't have the big-time packaging deals they have, at least up until recently. Now they got that big signed contract with ESPN. It's a multi-billion-dollar deal. So that's probably going to change. But up until recently, when the COVID strike did hit, statistically speaking, they got a big chunk of their money, over a third of it, from ticket sales, which vanished to a big degree until fans started coming into the arena more. I just wanted to show that statistical output there. But it's definitely – oh, shoot. Did I screw it up? There we go. Definitely interesting.
And
I know they're
the
making money.
The new Canadian TV deal is up, I think, next year or something. So that's going to be another big chunk of money.
With Rogers?
Yeah, Rogers, their contract is finished soon.
Good. I hate Rogers.
I hope TSN gets it back, to tell you the truth, because I don't like Rogers either.
Personally,
I hate Bell more than I hate Rogers, but I prefer the hockey coverage on TSN opposed to Sportsnet. So.
Yeah. I hate Bell and Rogers. What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? Yeah.
What are you going to do? All right. Where are we at?
Well, anyone else have anything to add on the cap?
I think we kind of went through that.
All right. That's pretty much it. Anyone want to give out some closing statements before we wrap things up here?
Yes, we have the fun fact of the day.
Oh,
it's illegal to own only one guinea pig in Switzerland.
Oh, man.
And this is very true. It is illegal to own because they don't want them to be lonely and they don't want to be alone. And this is very true. Don't make this up. So if you're in Switzerland, bring more than one guinea pig. And I think it's true, but I think it's true for other animals too. It's not, but it just whatever. That's a true fact. Anyways, there you go. Fun fact.
It's so funny that there's a farm down the street from me that has pigs on it.
Yeah, but it's not the same in North America.
No, I know. I thought it was funny. That's why I started laughing.
I can only imagine fucking just the police knocking on the door and just saying, "Yeah, we got a tip off. So apparently, you no longer have two guinea pigs. You only have one. One of them died, and you passed the 7-day circa of where you must purchase another one. If we find it that you only have one guinea pig, we are going to have to arrest you.
Death penalty.
Or you got to go ski down the hill.
Why does
or even worse, you have to work for the Buffalo Sabres organization.
Why does your Swedish guinea pig cop sound like an American?
Yeah, I don't know.
I
Rick.
want to make it sound as threatening as possible.
Just wondering. All right. That's it. That's all we got. By the way, let us know what you thought of the show, anything we talked about. Let us know in the comment section. You could also reach us at various places, and they're all listed in the description. And check out all of our other podcasts. You got Flyer Gonna Flyer, High Brewing Nation, Hab Normals, this one, and who knows what else we come up with. They're all those links are in the description. So check them all out and have a great week. We'll see you next week, and we hope you have a great one. So till next week, from everybody here, just have a great week. Till next time, stay safe out there. Peace out, everybody.
Later, peeps.
And ciao, everybody.
Yeah.
Wow.